Hello world, I'm Smog here, and today I'll be building a preloader. Let me show you what that looks like. So when you load this website, you see this text that says loading, then the animation goes out and it slides out. So that's what I'll be building today, and I'll be building this from scratch using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That means I will not be using any animation library. So let's get into it. Okay. So here's the code for the website so far. And over here, I'm just going to add a new div. I'm going to add a new div, and the class will be preloader, right? And I'll come over to my style sheet here and say that dot preloader should have a width of 100%, a height of 100%, no 100 VH because I want to use the viewport height. Then the position would be absolute, left 0, then top 0 as well. Come over here. Oh, sorry. So my server is running already. Let me just load that up. That's localhost 1234. That's where my server is running. And obviously you can't see anything yet, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background color of black to that guy, and this guy now covers the screen. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add the loading text. So I'm going to come over and say h1 loading, save it up, and let's see what that gives us. So we have the loading text here, but what I want is for the loading text to be at the center. So I'm just going to come over and say display flex, justify content center, then align items center. Okay, yeah. So this guy is now at the center. Now, the next thing is, if you look at the animation that we have here, is you see that it seems to come out of nothing. It slides back in, and it's it slides back in, then all of these guys fade. So in order to make that happen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pseudo element for after. So I'll just okay, no, sorry, not pseudo element after. So I need to add a class to this text. I'll call it preloader text, preloader text, right? Underscore text. Then I'm going to come over here and say dot preloader underscore text, right? Basically, what I want to do is I want to create a rectangle that I can place below this loading text, such that by the time this text goes down, that rectangle covers it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do after, right? I'm going to, the content will be nothing. Content will be nothing. Then the content will be nothing. The display will be block. Then I will just give it a height of the 100 pixels, just so you can see what I'm doing for now. Width will be the 100%. Then the background color would be red for now, something that is visible. Okay, so you see we have this guy now. Awesome. So one thing I want to do though is I want the position of this guy to be relative to the h1. So I'm going to do dot preloader text, right? I'm going to say that display should be relative, should be okay. No, position, that will be position. Position should be relative, right? And the position of this guy should be absolute. Nothing for now. So that means I can now say that if I say top is 0, yeah. So you see that this guy covers up now, but I don't really want it to cover up here. So I'm just going to say bottom 0 instead. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, yeah. Then I'm going to adjust the position down a bit because I want it to be at the base of the text itself, not just covering up like this. So I'm going to do bottom let's do 100 pixels and let's see what that gives us. No, that should be minus 100 pixels. Yeah, so this should be, it's not quite there yet. I'm going to do minus, okay, we are almost there. I'm going to do minus 78 pixels, 78 pixels. Yeah, and this is aligned to the base of the text loading now. So right now, so for now, let me just do this. I'm going to say, okay. So what I want to do is increase the height of this guy. So I'm going to take the height to 100 pixels, just to be sure that the text, just to be sure that it can cover the text, right? And that means I have to adjust the size of this guy as well. All right, minus 178 pixels. Nice. So this guy now has the potential to be able to cover this guy. So the next thing I want to do is I want to wrap this text in a span. And the reason I'm wrapping it in a span is such that I'm not animating this H1, but I'm animating that span itself. So I'm going to come over here, span, keep the text loading, save it up. Then I'm going to come over to main.css and say dot preloader text span, right? The display will be a block. Then I'm going to transform this guy, say translates. That is, I want to move it on the y-axis. I'm going to say minus 20 pixels for now. And let's see what that gives us. We'll do 20 pixels. Okay, you see it's coming inside of the red cover now. So let's do a 100 pixels. I'm going to make this 120 pixels. Sorry, I didn't test these values. That's why I'm doing this live, obviously. Then let's make it 150 pixels. Almost there. Let's do 160. Now, the text is completely covered by this guy. Awesome. So, of course, then the next thing you want to do is to start writing JavaScript for when the page loads. Because by the time the page loads, that's when you want this guy, or while the page is still loading, that's when you want to be able to bring this guy out and complete the animation, just like you have here. Let me just show you that again. Goes up, it blinks, goes down, then it scrolls. Cool. So to do that, I'm going to create a new JavaScript file here, and I'm going to call it preloader.js, preloader.js, right? I'm going to come over to my index.html and just say script type equals text/JavaScript, right? The source would be script/preloader.js, right? Then I'm going to come over to preloader.js. So one of the things I want to do is to select this text, of course, and I'm going to use a query selector for that. So I'm going to say preloader text equals document.query selector. No, that should be query selector. And I'm going to say dot preloader __ text. Now, remember that what we're actually animating, this preloader text is just this guy that is holding the text itself. What we're actually animating is this span. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and say const preloader text span equals document.query selector equals dot preloader text then span. And I think that's the interesting thing about the query selector. You can use it the same way you use like your selectors in CSS, or the thinking around your selectors in CSS can be applied here as well, and things are going to work just fine. Cool. Now we have this guy, but nothing is happening yet. The next thing I want to check is when the document has loaded or when the document is loading. And the way to do that is to add an event listener to the document. That is when something happens, then you want to carry out an action. So I'm going to do document dot add event listener, and the event I want to listen to is on ready state change. State change. That is when the state of the document changes, right? We want to check for something, right? So then when the state of the document changes, we want to check the ready state of the document. So I'm going to come here and say switch documents, documents dot ready state, right? And when the case is interactive is just basically when the assets of the page have been loaded, right? At that state, everything that you need for the website to work has not been loaded, but the website has become interactive. That is, you can actually, like HTML, CSS has loaded, right? That is, you can interact with the website, but not all the assets, not all the JavaScript needed for the website to work has been loaded. So for that, I'm going to use so document.readyState. So for now, I'm just going to say alert. Website is now interactive. Website is now interactive, right? Website is now interactive. So let me refresh this page. Okay. Let's see if there's any error in what I've done so far. There's no error in the console. So document.readyState case alert is interactive. Break this down. Let me do case complete and say alert website is now fully loaded. Let's see what that gives us. Let's see. Before this switch case, I'm going to do alert document states changed. Okay, so I'm guessing I probably didn't import this preloader.js. So alert preloader. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, so definitely preloader. This guy was loaded. So okay, so I'm guessing because I'm in dev mode or because I'm developing locally, things are super fast. So that's why these guys are not running. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do set timeout, right? And I'm going to only show this like when the, so I want to run this 3 seconds after the website has fully loaded. So I'm going to do set timeout. Then let's see what that gives us. So 1, 2, 3, and let's see what that gives us. Okay, let me confirm that. That event I'm listening to in a bit. That should be Danda speaking. Scripts style. We have preloader.js. Oh shit! I was listening to the wrong event. Oh, the event should be ready state change, not on. Oh shit! So that was the issue. So interesting. So you see now we have document state change. Website is now interactive. Then wait for 3 seconds. Document state change. Then 3 seconds. Then it's going to say website is now fully loaded. Amazing. Sorry, that was I was listening to the wrong event. Interesting. Okay, so now we're able to track when the website is interactive and when the website is fully loaded. So what that means is that we can now begin to do things, right? So, and one of the things I want to do is to make this text span. One of the things I want to do is take this text span out of this red rectangle that is covering it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and say preloader text span dot style dot transform transform equals translate y, and I'm going to translate it to 0, right? Now let's see what happens. You see, it comes out, and there is no animation. So for it to get animated, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set animation properties for it, or transition properties for it. So I'm going to say transition. So I'm going to say transition property. Those are the properties that we want to apply that would be animated when values change, right? So I'm going to do transition property. The only thing we want transition to happen to is transform, right? Then the transition duration should be 0 seconds, right? Then the transition timing function, I'm just going to do is out, right? Now, over here, what I can now do is I'm going to come over here and say preloader text span dot style dot transition duration equals 0.7 seconds. So let's see so we should have a smoother animation now. So let me refresh this guy and let's see what happens. Okay. Preloader transition duration. Give me a sec. Okay. So I just need to confirm that I'm animating the correct thing. Transform, transition property, transition timing function, then the style dot transition duration equals this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delay the time a bit by, let's say, 100 milliseconds, something that is really infinitesimal, that is almost unnoticeable. So let's see what this gives us. Oh, website is now fully loaded. Oh no, I don't want this guy to run for now. So let me just take this guy out and come over here. Aha, you can see that the animation comes through now. Cool stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reduce this time a bit. I feel like the animation was too slow, just to have something that is, yeah, cool. I feel like this is better. Cool. Now, what that means is I can now come over here. So one other thing I want to add is I have this class that allows the text to blink. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say preloader text dot class lists dot add pod underscore grid. So this class essentially allows it to look like it's blinking. So let me show you what that looks like. Preloader text. Oh yeah, I know why that is. That's because the God breed was attached to this counter function. So let me refresh this guy and see what happens. So it loads in, then you see it appears to be blinking. That animation is actually very subtle. So so it means that at this stage we are now aware that this text over here, this red text over here, actually this red text actually covers, or this red rectangle rather actually covers the text. So I'm going to take the rectangle background color from red to black, just so that the text is hidden behind it. So let me refresh this guy now and let's see what happens. We can see what happens. So it appears to be coming from nowhere, and it's coming from behind of that that red rectangle, or that black rectangle, which it is now. So after the timeout, after it becomes completely, when this guy is completely loaded on screen, one thing we want to do is we want to translate it back to where we are coming from. So I'm just going to copy this guy. Paste, then come over to main.css and see the transform value. That's 160 pixels. So I'm going to take this guy to 160 pixels, which means that when it is full 3 seconds after the website is fully loaded, we want to take this guy off screen again. So back to where it came from, right? So 1, 2, 3, goes back. Fantastic. Now, when that is done, we want to take this red box that is covering the entire website off screen as well. So to do that, we could simply say, so we need to, of course, select the preloader itself and say const preloader equals document.query selector, and we'll say preloader dot preloader, right? Dot preloader. And for this guy, what I simply want to do is I want to say preloader dot style dot transform equals so this will be scale x 0. So right now the scale is 1. This guy, the scale is 1. So what I want to do is I want to take the scale to 0. So yeah, so I'll come over to the style sheet here, and I'm going to say so I'm just going to add some animation properties to ensure that things don't end abruptly. Okay, let's see the way it works right now. Save. You see this guy, then it just goes off screen. That's because there's no transition, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the preloader text. I'm going to say transition. What we want to transform, that is that's the transform property. I'm going to say 0.7 seconds, and I'm going to 0.7 seconds, and I am going to do ease in out. Now let's see what that gives us now. Okay, wait. Transition, transform. Let me confirm that. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Preloader.text.transform equals this guy. Okay. Let me set an initial property for this guy. I'll say transform. I'll say scale x is 1. Let's see what this gives us. Boom. This guy comes out. Okay. Transition, transform 0.7 x seconds. No, that doesn't feel right. Transform style, preloader.style. Let me confirm that I'm selecting the right thing. Preloader. Oh wait, I think I had some style set for. Oh shit! I was applying it to the preloader text instead of the preloader. That was the error I was making, or that was the mistake I was making. Oh shit! Save this guy off, then come over here and let's see what this gives us. Boom, 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 boom. Good. Now you see that it appears like a blind. I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is change the transform origin. So I want it to move from left to right, not the two coming together at the center. So I'm going to do transform origin. I will do right. That is, start up from the right. You have a rectangle like this, start from the right there. Pick the vertical center, right center. Now let's see what this gives us. Cool. Now it moves towards the right, but there's a problem, which is it doesn't wait for this other animation to be done before it moves. So what I'm going to do is, this animation, we notice that this guy takes 0.5 seconds, right? So I'll simply come over here and say transition delay, right? And I'm going to make that 0.5 seconds. Save it up. Let's see what happens. You see now, this animation is done before that works. So I could even delay it a little bit, say 0.5 seconds, just to ensure that that guy is completely done and there's like some breathing space, comes down, perfect. And that's how you create a preloader from scratch using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, I built, so for this particular guy, since this is not React or anything where you can reuse stuff, all I need to do is just copy this guy, then come over to microphone.html, then paste it in, then also bring in the text type equals text/JavaScript, right? Then the source is script slash preloader script/preloader.js. Save it up. So what that means is if I navigate to join the phone, you can see it now looks like a page transition. If I come over to home, it looks like each page now has a transition. And that's it. If you watch this video up onto this stage, kindly subscribe and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye and cheers.